Welcome back everybody to a new video here in the series where we are taking a new animation in JavaScript. Today we're going to be creating an eye follower. This is the project we're going to be creating today, pure HTML, CSS and JavaScript. You can see that as our cursor moves, the eye in the center of the screen looks at it. Now, this is very simple in actuality, but its use case is very wide. So today we're going to be creating this. By the way, I'm using the Zen browser. If you can see here, here you can see I'm using the Zen browser, which is more minimal, and I like the layout, so I think it's better for the series. You can tell me if you would prefer me to switch back to Chrome, but today we're going to be using the Zen browser. So here I'm in VS Code and I'm going to start the new project. I'm just going to create a JS eye follower. And we're just going to cd into that folder and open it inside of a new VS Code window. Okay, great. So we can just close the terminal here. Okay, I think we did not open our in the right way. Okay, let's just go back here and let's go JS eye follower here, and let's just open it. Okay, so here we're in this folder where it's completely empty, as you can see. So we're just going to start by creating our index.html file. Obviously, everything here will be starting from the index.html. And I'm not going to be covering too much of the HTML here simply because it's very minimal. And this is more of a JavaScript course or tutorial instead of actually for HTML. So I'm just going to rename the title JS eye tracker. And I'm just going to go into the body and I'm just going to create two eyes, the ones we saw before. So the first one, they're basically just divs, right? So the first one will just have a class of eye, and this would have a pupil container here. You'll see why this has to be the case in a moment here. So the spelling matters here, not because it is part of the syntax, but it's because it's in the CSS as part of the CSS container class. So just make sure that you have the proper orientation of your HTML elements here, an eye within it, a pupil container, then a pupil here. The pupil would be the part in the center of the eye that will actually be moving. So we can now just duplicate this, Control Shift Alt and down arrow. That's in VS Code, and that would basically mean that we are done with our HTML as we have two eyes. Great. So now we have to move to the CSS, and I'm just going to create a new folder here. I will call this style .css, not a folder, a file, and I'm just going to paste in all my CSS here. And now you see why the naming convention was very important, because we have the CSS classes laid out here. So again, this is not a CSS course, but it's very simple. I'm probably going to have the repository for this in the description, so you can just go ahead from there and just copy it. Or if you want to get it from here, I'm just going to scroll through it. If you want to get it from here, we're just doing box sizing, border box, centering everything, and yeah, placing the eyes side by side, customizing the eyes, and here you can see everything you need. So you can just write it from here, or you can copy it from the GitHub repository, which I'm going to put down below in the description. Okay, so the style, we're just going to be linking that, and we're going to be right clicking and opening with live server. I'm using the live server extension here in VS Code, if I go here, you can see the live server extension, so you can download that and install it in your VS Code. Or if you don't want, you can just like go into the file explorer and open it with VS Code with actual in your browser, your preferred browser. But I'm doing it this way because it's faster and I don't need to refresh every time I make changes. Now you can see like there is the eye here, but it is when my cursor moves, nothing's happening to it. It's because we don't have any JavaScript interactions. It's completely empty. So now we have to go into our JavaScript file and create that. So let's move this down here and let's create a new script file here. We need to create our main.js. You can say index.js, main.js, whatever you want. But we have to come here and just link it. Now it's very important that you add the defer attributes after the source. The reason for that is because we want the JavaScript to be loaded once the HTML body has finished loading, and if that's not the case, then JavaScript won't actually get access to these containers and these div elements. So please make sure to include this defer element here, and now we're attributes actually, and now we're just going to save it, and we're just going to test it out here. We can say console.log. I can say hello, and we can just go over to the browser, right click, inspect, and we can just go to the console. By the way, the Firefox developer tools here are known to be very superior to Chrome's, so that's another reason I'm using Zen, because it's developer tools and its base architectures based on Firefox's. So here we have the hello, meaning everything is working, no errors, no nothing. So now we can continue. The first thing I want to do is I want to get the eyes here, and I'm just going to say document dot query selector, and I'm just going to use the default CSS query selector here and just say dot I. Now since we have two eyes, we have to make sure it's query selector all. Now I'm assuming basic understanding of JavaScript knowledge, the bare minimum syntax. If not, I'm expecting to create a full JavaScript course soon, so stay tuned for that. But here I'm expecting very little basic syntax understanding, like stuff like how to create variables and how to get the elements from the HTML. So here we're just going to be continuing here, query selector all, because there are two peoples as well, and I'm just going to say dot pupil. I'm probably mispronouncing that somehow. We can now move down. If I save, nothing really changes. Actually, this error comes up because we're using the live server extension, which expects a favicon for the icon here. Like you should see, like everything is fine here as well. But if I go to the inspector and if I refresh, maybe I'm not opening this using live server, so it's not going to show. But here it's expecting like a favicon, so you don't have to worry about that. This is completely irrelevant, but it's going to be persisting. Yeah, so we're just gonna move on here. Nothing changed because we didn't do anything with the elements we got. So in order for something to happen, we have to access them and do stuff with them. So I want to say eyes dot for each eye, because we have two eyes. We need to loop over them and do the interactions for each of them. So we want to say I dot add event listener, mouse enter. Mouse enter means when, actually sorry, we're not there yet. We want to first work on the movements, right? So just forget that for now. And we want to say window dot add event listener, listener here, and we want to say mouse move. So we want to be tracking the position and coordinates of the mouse as it moves, and we want to handle mouse move. Okay, So very basically, we're going to create a handle mouse move function here using JavaScript arrow function. Obviously, we're going to be taking the event variable here, the event class. So we're just going to say const here. We're just going to get, okay, so before that actually, we have to say for each pupil. So pupils for each pupil. What we want to do here in this case is update their x and y coordinates. So you have to make sure to read the CSS, because in the CSS we are setting the people to be absolute position absolute. We are setting the initial positioning here for them to be center, but they're absolute, so we can freely access their left and right properties and just do whatever we want with them. So I'm just going to say people for each of them. The style dot here, the style only dot left and dot top here. So these are the two that we'll be focusing on using, but we have to get them somehow. So I'm just going to create this line here. I'm just going to say const x comma y. We're destructuring. This is JavaScript destructuring, where we are taking an object and we're actually taking the parts of the object that we need without saying, like, for example, object dot prop. Instead of saying that, we can just destructure it here and we'll get that directly. So we're going to get the y and x from a function called getMouseOffset. And obviously this is not a JavaScript function, so it doesn't really exist, so we have to create that. But before that, we have to apply it here. I'm going to be using string literals here. I'm going to be using this to say x percent here, and for the left that is, and for the top y percent here. You can see here in a way how CSS is actually working. We need to do either percent or pixel or rem because the left property, for example, needs a pixel value with a unit, so we're doing that. But also I'm not doing pixel, but I'm using percent. The reason I'm using percent is because it should be relative. Here we can see the in the original one, when my cursor is at the very top, then the pupil here would be at the very top. When the cursor is at the very bottom here, then the cursor will do the same. When it's the center, it will become the center. So the pupil is actually taking the position in relation to its containing eye. So it's percentage because it's not the absolute value, because if it was pixels, then it would be here, right? It would be right here. The pupil would pop out of the eye and come here, but that's not the case. In reality, we want it to be relative to the eye, so we're using percent. So this means when this is 0%, it means 0% of the eyes, which is right here. Hopefully that makes it clear. Also note that here the pupil container has a relative value on its position. So that's one reason we needed a pupil container, and the other reason is for it not to overflow. So we have to constrain it. You can test it out when we finish here. You can go ahead and just change out the code, do your own thing, and see why we added the CSS and stuff. But if you want a more in-depth understanding of the CSS, you can just comment it down below, and I'm going to cover it in depth here. But today we're going to be focusing on the JavaScript. Here, okay. So now we have to create the function, right? So const getMouseOffset. This is a function that will just take this e. The reason we are passing it here, the e, and also we're getting it here is because we want to get the actual mouse positions to translate them into the percentage relative values. So that's what we are doing. So first we want to get the inner width and the inner height, right? The inner width and the inner height from the window object. So window.innerWidth and window.innerHeight. So JavaScript destruction, very powerful tool that you must know. Then we can say we have an x value and a y value. Here, this is the same values that we are going to be returning. So as an object, x and y. So we're going to be returning this. That means here we're going to be getting it. So we're restructuring what we are returning here. Hopefully that makes it a bit more clear. So here's the formula I'm going to be using. I came up with that just trying different stuff. So e.offset x, which is this offset x is the amount that the mouse has moved. We get it from the event object here, times 100 divided by inner width, right? So this is basically taking the absolute value in pixels and translating it into percent by multiplying it by 100 and dividing it by the inner width of the screen, so it gets the relative amount. Again, this is not something very complicated. It's just basic math, and you should be able to come up with it if you want on your own. And we're going to be doing the same thing here. Offset y instead here times 100 but divided by inner height. So now the base content here should be done, and we can see here everything works quite smoothly, but we're not done yet. If you see here, there is an abrupt okay, we're actually on the wrong file here. You can see it's working smoothly, but when we get here, there's a glitch where as we move into the eye, its percentage is shooting up top for some reason, and what's the reason for that? I can't really quite tell you. I haven't really figured it out, but I have come up with a way of fixing it. So we're going to be adding some more code here. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be adding an I here, i.ice here, dot for each I. We can say i.add event listener. Okay, on mouse enter, we want to say handle mouse enter. Right, so handle mouse enter. So then okay, handle mouse enter. Then we want to create a function here to handle it, and it's going to be a very simple function. Const handle mouse enter equals window dot remove event listener here, the mouse move event listener from the window. So we are removing this, right? We're adding it here, but here we are actually removing it. Okay, so remove, and we should pass in the function handle mouse move. So we're just separating it, meaning that when we are now here, when we reach this point, it stops. So the event has been cancelled. But that's not quite what we want. We want it to be stopped here. As you can see, we want it to be stopped right here. Then when we move out, we want it to be continuing. So it's very simple. So what we basically do here is say mouse i.add event listener here, and this time it's going to be mouse leave when it leaves the i's coordinate space. So we want to say handle mouse leave. Very simple naming convention. You need that. You have to be able to understand your names and stuff, so be careful of how you name it. I'm just saying handle, then event mouse leave. This is in the very basic form. So now it's very simple. We want to reinitiate it, right? So we want to copy this, and here we want to apply it. Okay, so now we have this code both times here and here. This is for the initiation parts, and this would be like this here. This would be for when we actually enter into the eye and we exit it. So let's see if this works. So I'm just going to refresh one time, and we don't really need the console anymore. So we can see that we can move quite smoothly and nicely without any stuttering, without any glitches. But when we get here, you can see that the mouse stops. When we leave, it continues, right? So here you can see it up to any point here, but when we get here, it stops moving. And this is basically a very smooth implementation of following. Here there are so many websites that use this. The most popular, I think, is Go. The Golang website uses this with a custom like mascot. But here probably they use a different implementation. This very fun and very easy way to learn JavaScript. We learned so many things, removing event listeners, adding event listeners, different sort of event listeners, how to structure your code into readable functions. Here we saw how to calculate percentage from pixel values. This is a simple math, actually. You'd be able to figure it out. Hopefully this was clear. If it was not clear in relation to this, you can see the HTML actually to get a better idea, just moving the people inside the eye. Yeah, if it was not clear, please comment down below in the description and I'll be happy to like even make another video if it was not clear, but hopefully it is. So again, thanks for watching. That was it for today. Yeah, until next time, goodbye.